What didn't you believe until you experienced it? Until I experienced it myself. I didn't believe the profound impact that meditation could have on mental well-being. Initially skeptical, I assumed it was just a trendy practice. However, after committing to daily meditation sessions, I felt a noticeable improvement in my stress levels, clarity of mind, an overall sense of inner peace. It taught me the power of mindfulness and the importance of taking time for self-care. This first-hand experience transformed my perspective and solidified my belief in the effectiveness of meditation as a tool for managing stress and promoting mental health. I didn't fully believe in the transformative power of travel until I experienced it firsthand. Always heard people talk about how travel broadens your horizons and changes your perspective. But it wasn't until I ventured out into the world myself that I truly understood the depth of those words. Exploring new cultures, meeting people from different walks of life, and immersing myself in unfamiliar environments opened my eyes in ways I never imagined. It's an experience that's difficult to fully grasp until you step out of your comfort zone and into the unknown. I didn't truly believe that weight issues were sometimes affected by hormones, illness, or genetics severely. I used to be 100 pounds and super skinny. I was active and I ate well and attributed my success to that. I got to about 25 and gained 200 pounds. I was still super active and eating healthy. Turns out I have multiple factors running into my weight. I'm 100 pounds lighter and still trying to lose the weight. It's a struggle with chronic pain, PCOS, genetic factors, and trying to balance life. I've just stopped judging other people's walks in this life. The grief of losing a loved one to suicide. I've experienced loss in the worst forms. Lost my mum very young. My dad passed away from cancer. Had miscarriages and lost my fertility. I have grieved in my life. But when my brother recently took his own life, I've never felt as broken as I do now. We had a complicated relationship, but Jesus Christ, no one could have prepared me for the pain of losing him that way. I've lost friends to suicide and know many people who have. I just wasn't prepared for how bad it is. My dad got hit by a semi on a bridge at almost 40 mpg. This bridge dips down at the end, so you can't see backed up traffic if you don't know the road. Semi braked up. Dad looked up when he heard the brakes and let go of his own so his vehicle could absorb the impact. Both lived. If two men hadn't reacted exactly how they should, my dad could have died. My dad's truck wasn't even badly damaged. They had to replace parts of the bed. I now understand why people believe in miracles. Domestic abuse. I really just could not believe people didn't just leave. But there are so many factors that contribute someone being trapped, even of big if they can financially and logistically afford it. The psychological effects are wild. I remember crying on the phone talking about how I just couldn't leave, and I truly thought I didn't have a choice even though I had one all along. It took years. Before I had brain surgery, my neurosurgeon said the worst side effect afterwards would be fatigue. Fatigue. I scoffed. How bad can it be? Fast forward to after the surgery, and I didn't bother making my bed for 6 weeks because I was never out of it for longer than a couple of hours. Folding the laundry led to me having to take a 2-hour nap afterwards. I finished my glass of water. I turned around to see the TV on and no one in the living room. I go to my brother's room and he's knocked out snoring. I guess my ghost likes watching soccer on YouTube. I didn't really understand why women were so scared of men, until one assaulted me. Now I completely get it. I always thought they were playing it up and trying to act as a victim, but the physical strength differences and the way some men can manipulate you is truly terrifying. I love men, I'm just scared of them in a lot of different situations. A migraine. Never really understood what people meant when they called in sick for work with a migraine. I would just work through my headaches, until one day I couldn't see what was on TV. I tried to focus and it just wasn't working. Everything was blurry. I felt like I was going blind. It made me feel sick. I just wanted to sleep. Meditation benefits. It took me a bit to get to the point that I could actually do it. Teaching your brain to stop thinking so fast is difficult when most of the time you're doing the opposite, but it can be done. And I found I was less stressed and slept better on days when I did it. My doc says my blood pressure improved too. Two things: alcoholism, I knew it was a disease, but never thought it could happen to me. I thought it was a matter of will until I spent a year and a half strapped to a bottle of vodka. Sleep paralysis, I thought it was a legend or a joke like a creepypasta until it happened to me twice in a week. Both are terrifying experiences. I fully believed that people made it up and that they were just whispering. Then one day I got really sick and tried to talk, and nothing came out of my mouth. Shouting as loud as I possibly could had my voice only a little louder than a whisper. It shocked me to experience it and realize that it really was a thank you. Seeing a total eclipse. As soon as it is over, I want to another. No photograph captures what it's like to have the sun turn into a shiny ring you can look straight at for the first time in your life. It seems closer and bigger than you imagined. The whole change in the surroundings of night during the day is also surreal. How much worse an actual flu is compared to a common cold. I always thought that a flu is just like a little more intense cold. But it is so much worse. You might have chills that are multiplying, fever, achy bones, headaches, and feel weak. I mean, there are thousands of people dying every year from a flu. Lower levels of human stupidity usually comes up in religious forums, where theists ask atheists if they know that God would have his feelings hurt because they just can't seem to understand what not believing in God means. Shit really hits once discussions regarding omnipotence and omniscience comes in. I had studied Pompeii after my grandfather taught me about it. But until I visited the city a year after studying it and beholding Vesuvius, I couldn't believe that such a force of nature buried a city. I, of course, was only 7 when I first learned of it and didn't see it till a year later. That damn gold blue dress. I see blue every time I look at it, and couldn't understand how anyone saw white and gold. Just one time. I saw it as white and gold for a split second. When I looked again, it was blue. But I could finally understand how people saw white. Maybe not that I didn't believe it, but didn't understand it. I used to be confused why pain and suffering was a charge accounted for in legal matters. That's until my world was turned upside down by a severe injury. The mental impacts outlived the physical impacts. Told me that there's a small town where the restaurants, bars and delis are all so mediocre to bad that their fast food places are where you go to get higher quality food. I wouldn't have believed it, but then I stopped in Fort Stockton, Texas for a night. That an employer would withhold feedback to put you on a PIP. I'm probably getting off that PIP since I fixed the issue she never told me about, but the trust is still broken. She had apparently been hinting at me to fix it, but never told me direct. This is a very small one, but bursting into tears. It always seemed like a silly expression to me. Like, of course you know when you're about to cry. You don't just go from 0 to crying with no warning. Until I did. Very weird sensation. Run flats, I leave in them before. But after running over a nail on the freeway, and not even realizing I had a blown sidewall until I got home 10 miles later, I definitely believe in them as a good investment now. How radically different life above versus below the poverty line is. It was 2 really bad years of my life, and I had 2 young children too. So many decisions were made differently because there was no money to solve problems with. I believe that I was very insecure. Until I got the insights recently that I actually am not. I'm insecure about how I look. But I also have a good understanding of who I am, what I'm worth, and how I want to be treated. Reubens are delicious. Every ingredient is disgusting: rye bread, corned beef, Swiss, sauerkraut, Thousand Island Russian dressing, nasty. But somehow together they miraculously become the food of the gods. A bad manager. I tend to think people are making excuses and blaming their manager. But there are truly just bad managers out there making it difficult to succeed. I'm leaving a great company because of one. It's not that I didn't believe it, but I didn't understand it. PTSD flashbacks. I thought it'd be like they show it in the movie. So I was shocked when my therapist told me you're describing flashbacks. I never understood how someone could want to have sex before the 6-week period after giving birth ends. I'm not going to do dumb shit that puts my life in danger. But I get it now, hormones are crazy. Kidney stone pain. Shit brought me to my fucking knees. Best way I can describe it is to imagine having the worst muscle cramp you've ever had, and someone is digging a hot poker into it. How much better home-cooked food is versus going out. My mum wasn't the best cook growing up. She sure tried though. My wife, however, is an amazing cook. And I try as well. And so grateful. I never understood how anyone could feel relieved after losing a loved one. Watching the American healthcare system torture my mum to death for 3 years did it. Chronic pain. People understand the pain conceptually, but the unrelenting nature of being constantly in pain is something that's hard to wrap your head around. People saying it all happened in slow motion, and I crashed my car and experienced it while leaving the road and going through somebody's garden wall. Not necessarily didn't believe, but until I myself was in an abusive relationship, I didn't understand how hard it was to actually leave. Heartbreak. Experienced it a few times and it's no joke. Literal pain in chest, and one of the hardest things to get past in my life. How easy it is to get addicted to opiates. I was prescribed some and took them once and knew that I could never take them again.